Just a minute, everyone. Somebody deleted our broadcast, but I'm going to start in a few minutes because I know you have to get out of here, Kareem. So give me a few minutes. I'm trying to put the feedback in there.
Thank you for joining us today. Good morning. My name is Kevin McNear, and I'm the editor for the Washington Informer. Our first episode of season 3 is officially underway. We hope you've had a chance to pick up a copy of this week's Washington Informer. You can read the digital edition online at www.washingtoninformer.com. If you're watching on Facebook, go ahead and hit share so your friends and followers can see the broadcast. If you're watching on Twitter, be sure to follow us and we'll follow you back. And be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel at Washington Informer TV. Obviously, I'm not Denise Rollart Barnes. Just in case you're wondering who this brother is, I'm stepping in for our illustrious publisher who's down at the White House in celebrations of our newest member of the Supreme Court, Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson. While it almost looked like COVID was gone, Mayor Bowser and Nancy Pelosi have both tested positive. Please continue to stay safe, wash your hands, practice social distancing, and wear a mask. Next Saturday, the 16th, is Emancipation Day. Plans are being made for the celebration that you don't want to miss. As a sidebar, the last time I remember it was with the wonderful Brandy. So I'm really looking forward to us getting out, being together, albeit safely, and enjoying a wonderful day. Mayor Bowser has introduced funding for 170 new speed cameras. They say pedestrian deaths in D.C. are on the rise. We will look into it and let you know our findings. But D.C. continues to have the highest ticket cost in the country. The message is clear. Don't drive in D.C. Finally, it was announced that we will have, as I mentioned, a new Supreme Court Justice. Judge Brown Jackson was confirmed yesterday afternoon, and we celebrate her along with President Biden. Sweet victory. And look out for yours truly's commentary. As you heard the comments from some of our members of the Senate, you have to wonder whose hands our country is in nowadays. Joining us today is filmmaker Karim Mowatt, who will talk to us about his documentary on Lorton Prison. We'll talk to Amy DiPiero and Ashley Clark from the Center for Public Integrity and our House newsletter editor, Austin Cooper, about their recent report on repairs of homes in the DC housing program. Also with us today would be Mimi Fall of Thereron Interior Co, who will talk to us about how we can spruce up our homes for spring with eco-friendly tips and decor. Also, and finally, joining us from the campus of Howard University and this year's National Cherry Blossom Festival Parade Grand Marshal is Laz Alonso. Before we welcome our first guest, let's watch our digital news broadcast by Curtis Knowles.
This is Win TV News, bringing you the news that matters. Bliss Nightclub, a popular club in DC, apologized Monday after videos showing of what appeared to be the body of a dead rapper, Gunu, on stage during a funeral event. In a statement, Bliss Nightclub said that it was, quote, never made aware of what would transpire during the $40 event on Sunday that was billed as the final show. The artist in question, Gunu, also known as Markel Morrow, was murdered a month prior to the event. Patricia Morrow, the artist's mother, commented on the situation, saying, quote, that's how he wanted to go out. He didn't want people to be sad and crying. He always wanted people to be happy and having fun. 6 people were killed and 12 others suffered injuries in a mass shooting in the area of downtown Sacramento, California. Investigators believe multiple shooters opened fire just steps away from the Capitol in the wake of a large fight after last call early Sunday. President Biden called on Congress for further action to address gun violence, stating, today, America once again mourns for another community devastated by gun violence, but we must do more than mourn. We must act. No charges will be filed in the death of Amir Locke, a black 22-year-old shot by SWAT team officers during a no-knock warrant raid in Minneapolis in February. The officials said that they determined that after a thorough review, that there is insufficient admissible evidence to file criminal charges in this case. Amir Locke's mother, Karen Wells, said on Wednesday after the decision was announced, quote, I am not disappointed. I am disgusted with the city of Minneapolis. After Locke's death, Mayor Jacob Frey halted no-knock warrants. And this Tuesday, the mayor enacted a new warrant and entry policy that prohibits the application for and execution of all no-knock search warrants by Minneapolis police. The United States has set a major renewable energy milestone last Tuesday, with wind power being the second highest source of electricity for the first time since the Energy Information Administration began gathering data. The EIA confirmed that wind turbines last Tuesday generated over 2,000 gigawatts of hours of electricity, edging out electricity generated by nuclear and coal. However, it still trails behind natural gas. With more than 100 planned offshore and onshore wind projects in the pipeline, President Biden's administration is set to make wind power the new power. The administration set a goal to deploy at least 30 gigawatts of offshore wind energy alone. This is Curtis Knowles with Win TV News.
Thank you so much, Curtis. Oh, and by the way, I would be remiss. I failed to mention another very important guest this morning. Ernest Woodson will be joining us from Fathers Incorporated. Now, coming up now is Karim Mowatt. But first, let's watch a clip of his trailer. We're not sure if this part of the trailer uses explicit language, but if you may have a problem, just mute the broadcast for the next 30 seconds.
Y'all was a terrible thing. Dusty, dirty, and dangerous.
If he doesn't have a fella like Hard Rock to hook up with that's going to look out for him, that's been jailed all his life and everything, well, he'll just have to make it on his own. If he's not strong enough, he'll get cigarettes taken, made into a woman or anything else.
Wow. Karim Mowatt, welcome to the broadcast. Good morning.
Happy to be here. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. That was a fascinating trailer. You know, I'm a transplant to the area. I'm not a native Washingtonian, and I don't know a lot about the Lorton Prison. So can you tell us briefly about your film career and where did you receive your training? And finally, why was it important to tell this documentary about Lorton?
Okay, my training, I'm self-taught. I taught myself how to direct, write, and edit. I'm watching YouTube tutorials and reading books. And my film career, this will be my 6th film. I have 5 other. This is a documentary. The other 5 were full-featured films. 3 of them are on Amazon Prime, named The Return, Run, and The Evidence Room. And I had 4 films on YouTube. Now, this is a documentary about the Lorton Prison, which opened up in 1910 and closed in 2001. I served time in Lorton. I served close to 10 years in the Lorton prisons. And I thought it was very important to capture that historic. The prison is really historic, so I wanted to capture a lot of the elements of it because a lot of people in D.C., to a certain extent, a lot of families in D.C. experience Lorton in some form or fashion, either a family member or them themselves, or maybe even working there. So I wanted to capture the whole aspect of Lorton from the inmate's perspective and from the prisoner's perspective and the historical perspective. And that's what I worked on. That's what I did with this documentary.
So tell me, did you receive funding for this documentary? How did you put it together?
I did everything myself because I have all the equipment. So I have drones and I have cameras. So I went out and got as much footage as I can and interviewed people, and I did all the funding myself.
So is it being screened now, or how many times has it been screened? And when's the next time someone can take a look at it, see a screening, and perhaps purchase tickets?
Okay, so it's been screened 6 times already, and it's been sold out every time at the Draft House Theater, which is on Rhode Island Avenue in Northeast. It's going to be screened again next Saturday, on April 16th at 3 p.m. And the tickets is on Eventbrite. So once you go on Eventbrite, you have to type in Lorton, or you type in my name, Karim Mowatt, and you will see the link for tickets.
So tell me, what do you want people who see this film to take away from it? What should they be expecting, and what would you like them to feel once they leave the screen?
I want people to understand the historical aspect of the prison itself, and to understand, because I go all the way back to 1812 when the Capitol was burned down. And when the Capitol was burned down, it was a direct link into Lorton being built in Virginia for DC prisons. And it also had a tinge of racism also, the reason why the prison was built. So I went back to 1812, went all the way into the war, to even show that at one time it was a prison, that where the Supreme Court is right now, that used to be a prison located right there called the Old Capitol Prison. And when that prison was knocked down, then the Supreme Court was built, but that was a prison for DC prisoners. And then they end up having to build in a prison in Virginia. So I kind of go through the whole historical aspect of the prison, but also the history, a lot of history of DC is in the film. And a lot of students have been coming to see it also, and young people who family members were in that prison.
I see. All right. So are you working on anything else? And have you entered any film festivals, perhaps with this latest project?
I haven't done any film festivals ever yet. That would be my next phase after I finish screening. And my next project, we're gonna do some more on Lorton. I want to explore the female prison that they had down there, because there was actually 8 prisons in Virginia. A lot of people think it's just one prison, but it's actually 8 prisons. So one of them was a female prison. So I want to explore that also, and probably go more into depth of the policies and the reason why the prison was closed. Because the prison was shut down in 2001, but now it's actually apartments. They turned it into apartments. So people are living in a prison that are now apartments, but it still look exactly like a prison.
Okay. Wow. Well, we want to thank you for joining us today, Karim, and we're definitely going to check out the documentary. Hopefully, a few of us from the Washington Informer will be able to take a look at this film as well, and we'll do some follow-up work. And by the way, you said it looks just like a prison. I mean, did they do? Is it luxury? Is it something inside that looks nice? I guess the exterior looks like a prison, but does it really have that same vibe, that feeling?
Well, no, the inside is considered luxury, so it's pretty nice on the inside, but the outside, yes, it's still a prison. And even from the inside, it still feels like a prison, because it still has the prison windows, and it still has the brick walls, so it still feels like a prison on the inside, but it's considered historical, and it's considered so.
Okay. Well, please keep us informed, brother, on what you're doing, and we'd like to support you in any way we can. Thanks for joining us this morning, too.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right. Have a blessed day. Now we have with us today Dr. Kim Cobb, a professional counselor specializing in trauma, PTSD, depression, bipolar, etc. And from the looks of this, all of us fit in one of these areas. We also have with us Ernest Woodson, founder of Fathers Incorporated. Ernest is going to tell us about Fathers Incorporated. And so we're going to talk to both Dr. Cobb and Ernest now. Ernest, tell us about Fathers Incorporated, and how long have you been recognizing the Father of the Year?
Okay, thank you, Kevin. Fathers Incorporated was founded back in 1987, so we've been around for at least a number of years. We started out as just 5 guys trying to support each other and caring for their kids. We were all single dads, and so we didn't necessarily have a lot of background, because we didn't have fathers in our lives either. But we leaned on each other, and we learned from our community. We grew up as old school kids, so we was raised by a village, not just by not having a father in the house, but we had a whole lot of fathers in our community that helped. So we learned from that. The Father of the Year Award program, we just started that in 2019. Our first award was in Washington, D.C., to a deserving father in Washington, D.C. Our second award, 2021, was to a deserving father in Baltimore County. This year's award is going to be made to 3 fathers, one from Charles County, Prince George's County, and Montgomery County, all three will receive an award. We're looking for deserving fathers in those three communities.
So tell us, how can someone nominate a father?
Okay, well, to nominate a father, they need to at least go to our website. I'm gonna hold this up. I don't know if you can see it.
Yes.
But go to our website. The website is www.fathersincorporated.net/events/. Go there and look at that. That has a lot of information about the whole program. And then if you really want to nominate a father, we have a nomination form on our website. Go to fathersincorporated.net/Father of the Year Award nomination. And that form can be downloaded. You complete that form. There's 6 criteria that you need to at least tell us about. We want to know about the father's challenges, some of the things that the father has gone through in his life. It may have been incarceration. He may have overcome a divorce. He may have even overcome addiction, a lot of different things. We want to know those kind of challenges that he had to overcome. We want to know about what he's done in his community, how he's lifted up his children, his family, and his community. Those kinds of things that we want to know about. There's 6 criteria, and then we have 1 criteria where you can just tell us exactly why that person you're nominating should be the father of the year. It's all about numbers. We get the nominations in, we tally the numbers. The deserving father with the highest rated score gets the award.
You know, it's interesting you talk about, I wish I could nominate my father posthumously. I was just thinking, I was just looking at this report about the woman in Prince George's where the 4 young brothers attacked her. And yes. I was talking to one of my writers, and I hate to do this quick sidebar, but when I was growing up in Detroit, the fathers on our block ran that yard.
Yes.
There was none of that going on, none of that going on. And we respected our elders, because we had to get back in their house. And I just wonder, I don't know if it's mothers and fathers or mothers and fathers together, but we got to get a hold of our children. My children are 31, 27. They're still children as far as I'm concerned, you know.
Kevin, I totally agree.
Like that too. You know?
I totally agree, Kevin. That's our mission. That's what it's all about for us. We want to change the dynamic in our community. We want to find deserving fathers and hold them up as role models to the rest.
Mm-hmm. So what's the actual day of the recognition? Is there a ceremony, or what is that like?
Yeah, the day of recognition is going to be June 18th. That's one day before Father's Day. We're hoping to have a ceremony, but we need to wait until April 30th to find out if we're really going to have some nominations. Once we know that, we'll announce the location, time and date, and everything else we put out there.
All right. Well, see your website one more time, and I'm going to turn to Dr. Kim, because she's got to help us with some of this depression and stuff going on, because I'm still trying to come out of my own bag, Dr. Kim. So go ahead. Ernest, give us the website, and we're going to flip to her.
Okay, Kevin. And the website again is www.fathersincorporated.net, all spelled out, fathersincorporated.net. I want to give a phone number just in case anyone has problems. 866-812-7440. If you have any concerns, any questions about the nomination process, pick up your phone and give us a call. 866-812-7440.
Well, I really hope that you are able to have this ceremony, because I've covered you about 2 or 3 years ago, and that's my Father's Day out, since my kids never come. They always visit their mother, but they never visit dad. That's okay. I'm just saying, you know, we run second place. So I will tell you, as I move to Dr. Kim, still, my mother being 2 years deceased now, I understand, you know, you often don't even recognize that you're depressed, that you're sad or lonely, and all of a sudden you're there. Where is COVID impacting us to that extent, or is it just being alive, Dr. Kim? And what should we do? Because Black folk self-diagnose. We don't go to people like you and say, I don't know what's going on, I'm lost and I'm sad. We just keep on trying to push through. Help us out, Dr. Kim.
Oh, most definitely. COVID has definitely impacted our community, the world. Um, People have been impacted by the loss of loved ones, family members, friends, and then the isolation that COVID-19 presented us with was completely devastating for a lot of people. It impacted us in terms of having to take care of our kids at home while trying to work. So, and then a lot of people lost their employment. So yes, it definitely has impacted the world.
So, I was talking about self-diagnosis, and I kind of tongue in cheek, but I was also quite serious. I mean, are there signs that you know? I know I haven't seen my children or family in almost 3 years, and I said I'm going to go see a therapist because I know that something's missing, but I don't quite know what it is, and I wonder what are those signs, or how do you know maybe I need to talk to someone? Because there was a stain one time in the black community. I'm sure you and Ernest would agree, especially black dads. You didn't go talk to anybody. Man up. Black men don't cry. Black men don't eat quiche. Black men don't whatever it is. All these sayings and these aphorisms that are kind of ludicrous. I mean, what are the telltale signs that maybe you need to see someone or talk to someone?
Yes. Well, people, when they become isolated, they, feel like they are suicidal. They don't feel like talking to family, friends, or loved ones. Those types of things, you know that something is wrong. Um, People can also feel lonely due to COVID-19. So these are the types of things that people need to look out for. And then men are particularly ones that don't seek treatment for mental health. And so African American men, we have this stigma in our community that people think you're crazy if you seek treatment, and so a lot of African American men don't seek treatment, and we want to encourage that because everyone needs treatment at some point or time or another.
When you talk about African men and treatment, it's funny. My stepfather was a psychiatrist, and I remember whenever I go home, I would tell him, "Don't analyze me today." I always felt like I was on the couch, but maybe I needed to be on the couch a lot. I don't know. Look, Dr. Kim, we are 2 years into COVID pandemic. Historically, these pandemics last at least 3 to 4 years. So if we
Mm,
study the science, if we're aware of the history from biblical days to today, we know that this is not over, that we've had a lull. The storm is all of a sudden we saw some sun and the rainbow and we all celebrated, but we know it's not over. Tell us, what should we be doing in terms of keeping ourselves healthy mentally? Maybe we should be calling someone like you, and if so, I mean, what should we be doing? Because we know the storm is coming. I had a bishop tell me once, either you're in the storm, moving through the storm, or to go back to a storm. So the storm is always present, and this storm is called COVID. Help us out, please.
yes. Um, we should all be trying to communicate with family, communicate with friends, communicate with loved ones, reach out, don't isolate. Those types of things will make a person even more depressed. So, if you don't have someone to talk to personally, you can always reach out to a therapist. Um, you know, it's not You're not considered crazy if you seek treatment. So definitely provide some type of self-care, get out, exercise, run, uh, do the types of things that you love. And if we're inside a lot and we can't get out because of COVID, um, there are certain things that you can do alone. You can go out running, you can go to the park, you can do other things without isolating within your home, because that just makes you even more depressed.
Okay. Well, spring is coming, or spring is here, and so yeah, we can. Oh, and by the way, what's your role with Fathers Incorporated? Are you connected with them, Dr. Kim?
Definitely. I am one of the directors of Fathers Incorporated and the resident psychologist for the program.
So if I start working with them, I get some free counseling?
Definitely. We can help you too.
I don't know whether it's coming. I don't know whether it's coming under my medical plan. I got to ask Denise about that. But yeah, it's I introduce funny to our guests who are watching us, viewers. I introduce all of our guests to my two dogs, my boxer and my little dachshund, because they keep me mentally grounded. So I had to hold on to them all the time. Look, thank you, Dr. Kim and Ernest, for joining us today. It's always a pleasure. And as a Black divorced father, it's certainly a pleasure to talk about the many ways that we try to be there in our children's lives. And of course, staying healthy mentally is essential if you want to be a positive force in those lives. So thank you again to both of you. We look forward to seeing you again and can't wait to celebrate June.
Did we lose him? We got cut.
Yeah, it looks like it.
Yeah. Yeah,
you're fine. We're bringing on Austin now until Kevin fixes his computer.
Good.
I think he's fine. But thank you again for joining us.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank
and
you. Thanks for having us.
It was a great conversation. I did enjoy it. Thank you.
Okay. Thank
Thanks
you
for
so
having
much.
us.
Thank you. All right.
All right. Thank you. It looks like we're back. Praise the Lord. You know, we have technical difficulties sometimes when we are working remotely. Thanks, Sherry, for helping us out. Right now, we're going to talk to the Washington Informer's Our House newsletter editor. That's Austin Cooper, 06, and Ashley Clark and Amy Di Pieretto with the Center for Public Integrity. Amy and Ashley, welcome to WIN-TV.
Thank you for having us.
All right. Austin, your next issue comes out Monday, correct? Tell us, what can we expect?
That is correct. And hey, frat brother, hey, Amy and Ashley, hope you both are well. Good to see you. That's correct. This will be our 20th newsletter that will come out on Monday. And our lead story will be homeowner lender disparities for Blacks in the district. This newsletter, which is online, comes out every 2 weeks. So our feature story for April 25th will be defining and building generational wealth. And by the way, April is Financial Literacy Month.
Integrity.
Hi, Kevin. I think you may have you were muted while you were winding up the question.
Oh, I'm sorry. So tell us, if you will, about your work and your roles at the Center for Public Integrity, because I think your story on housing repairs in the district appeared a few weeks ago in the newsletter and brought to light some of the housing repair programs for seasoned citizens and the long wait that it often entails before those repairs come to pass.
Sure, I can kick us off by describing my work. I'm Amy. I'm a data journalist at the Center for Public Integrity. So what that means is that my role is often to think about whether and how data can help to answer our reporting questions. So that means acquiring data sets. They might be public information that the city keeps. That was the case in this story that Ashley and I reported. It might be data that we have to go, find ourselves and collect and compile. And then there's the question of analyzing it, visualizing it, and using it as a storytelling tool. And in this case, and in a lot of the reporting that we do, my job is to make sure that I never lose sight of the fact that there are people behind these numbers. And so, we also do the on-the-ground reporting of finding the folks who you might see in a spreadsheet or a database. And I'll kick it over to Ashley to describe her work.
Yeah, thank you, Amy. I'm the audience engagement editor at the Center for Public Integrity. And so part of my job is to think of ways to connect with people who are impacted by our stories. The goal with this particular story was to, yes, we wanted to highlight what was happening with this particular agency, but we wanted to center the people who were impacted by the backlog. And so part of my job is figuring out ways to center the people who are most impacted by our reporting. That can be through collaborations, like we have with the Washington Informer. That could be through you taking our large data sets and figuring out ways that local newsrooms can utilize it, showing them how to utilize it. And that can be through like our audio recordings of our stories, just figuring out different ways to different pathways to connect people with our reporting.
So I remember a professor telling me once that you can make statistics say almost anything if you take the right batch or eliminate the proper batch. And I thought it was interesting, Amy, talking about compiling the data and looking at it. So we have these numbers now, these backlogs. I mean, how intense is this? How bad is it? I think there was one story you may have shared where one homeowner actually died while waiting for repairs to happen. Are we still years and years on a backlog for these repairs?
I think, well, so maybe to give a little bit of background about the program first, for those who haven't read the story, this is a program that's run by the Department of Housing and Community Development. There are a number of housing repair programs that different departments of the city run, as well as nonprofits that do similar work. And this program is aimed at homeowners who are low income. It's not confined to any one part of the city or any one age group. And there are some other requirements that you have to meet in order to qualify. And in this case, initially this is money that homeowners need for things like roof repairs. They might have a roof that's leaking. They might also have accessibility needs. Perhaps they need a grab bar, perhaps they need a ramp into their home in order to navigate comfortably. So there are a variety of things that this program is meant to cover. And what we found was that I believe on average, the wait time, as far as we know it most recently, is something on average like 3 years. So, you can imagine that from the moment that you might apply for a program like this to the moment that you're able to complete the repairs, you might be in a situation where the condition of your home is worsening or just changing. And so homeowners can end up in this cycle where delay leads to further delay. So that's one of the things that we noticed. Ashley, did you want to add on to that question?
Yeah, Ashley, help us out a little bit more on that. Since you do public engagement, you hear feedback from people. I'm sure people are lamenting about this delay, but what's that like? We hear 3 years, say, oh, here it is, 3 years, but you gotta really feel it when you're the person in line for 3 years.
Mm-hmm. Well, I want to go back to what you said about you can make statistics and numbers say anything, because that is why listening to community members is so important, right? To get the story right, we can't just look at the numbers. We can't just look at the wait times, because if you look at them, they can mean anything. But that's why it was so important for me to find people who had applied to the program and hear their experience, kind of walk through what it looked like for them to apply to the program. Once they applied to the program, what sort of back and forth they had with the people who were running the program. We looked through like email chains between them being given the runaround and things like that. And so being able to do that, being able to have long conversations with them and go through the application with them and documents they submitted, documents they received, really was able, I was able to almost in some ways understand the anguish it might you might feel to have to be dragged through such a long process. Something like having a leaky roof in 1 year is completely different down the line 3 years. You start to have chipping paint, you start to have mold, you start to have maybe bugs in your house because the water is attracting them. And that's some of what we saw. And so if we just looked at the numbers and said, okay, people are waiting 3 years, sometimes repairs take a long time, but actually sitting in people's homes, listening to their stories, talking to their children who had helped them apply to this lengthy application, you really got the sense of, you wouldn't want your mother, your grandmother, or your uncle who's elderly waiting and waiting and waiting, going back and forth via email, not really understanding where they are in the process, I was really able to get a sense of this is not right.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. And Austin, I'm gonna come back to you as we try to wrap this up because we wish we could keep talking about time. We're running out of time. I can't believe it. So, Austin, tell us, help us out with the next date again, and remind our viewers when the next date of the newsletter is coming out, and how we can get it.
Yeah, the next newsletter will come out on Monday, April 11th. It comes out every other Monday. It's an online publication. And I do have, if I may, one question to both of our guests. Can you tell us a story about briefly, the gentleman who passed away while waiting for his home to be repaired?
Yeah. So I think there were actually two in this case, but I think what you're referring to is an elderly gentleman who his daughter actually helped him apply to the program. He had cancer and some other health issues, and he actually wasn't even able to sleep up in his bedroom because of the damage to his roof. And so his daughter had applied about a year ago to have his roof repaired, and basically she was told, oh yeah, you're applying now, there are people in way ahead of you in line, and so she tried her best to try to have it escalated to say, my father is sick, he's lived in this house for 30 some odd years, he's been a part of the community, he's poured himself into this community, and so at least this is what he's owed. Her father fell even more ill while he was waiting, ended up in the hospital, and eventually passed away. And the last time I spoke to her, she said that she was told that because he passed away before contractors even came to his home, that the repairs wouldn't be done. And for her, it's a matter of again, she feels like this is what her father is owed, but now she's being burdened with having to figure out how these repairs will be made. And it just speaks to the issue of how can Black homeowners in DC pass down generational wealth if they're passing down homes that are dilapidated or in need of great repair to their children. And so she's very upset that the repairs weren't done in a timely manner while her father was alive, but now too that she feels like she's fighting to have those repairs done that she feels that her father was rightfully owed, and now that she's owed. And so that was one of the cases. And then I'll let Amy speak to another case that we found out that while we reported.
Certainly, one of the things that we initially found when we were doing background on this program was a reporting by the Washington Post, I believe back in 2015, about this same repair program, surfacing similar complaints to what Ashley and I heard when we went about interviewing homeowners. And the gentleman featured in that story had been waiting for some time for repairs, also had various health problems. And so I went about trying to track down him. And in the process of trying to track down him, I contacted an advocate who had been working with him, trying to help him to connect with city resources. And she told me the very sad story that after that article was published, there continued to be delay. And shortly before his death, she had managed to arrange a meeting with the city. But upon arriving at his home, they realized that he had passed away, before that meeting could occur.
Okay. Well, thank you. And I'm pleased to report to our viewers and readers that you both will be doing a follow-up story, updating us on the individuals that you spoke to. So thank you to you both for your excellent article and reporting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. And then Austin, I'm going to step away real quickly and do something technical, like grab that charger so my computer doesn't shut down. And I want you to just tell us the next couple of editions that are coming out. Help us out so we know what kind of stories you have in the can and why they matter for us.
Okay, well, thank you, Kevin. So as I mentioned at the start of this interview, we're going to be doing our next story for the month of April will be homeowner lender disparities for Blacks in the district. and defining and building generational wealth. And then stories planned for May include home buying assistance programs for veterans and what the impact of so few Blacks being home appraisers. So Amy and Ashley, while I still have you, if I may ask, I would imagine that COVID-19 had a major impact on the delay in the programs. Were there other issues?
There's certainly.
Yeah.
You go right ahead, Ashley.
Okay. Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, there were definitely other issues, and there was a backlog before the pandemic. Actually, some of the homeowners that we spoke to for this story had applied and been accepted into the program before the pandemic hit, and had been facing the same sort of runaround. But another slowdown, which they have, the Department of Housing and Community Development says that they have addressed, is for this single family residential rehab program, there were paper applications. So people were having to go into an office, like a community-based organization, fill out these paper applications, and then have it submitted that way. They've now digitized that process and hopes to speed things up. So that was one of the things that they attributed to slowing them down. And Amy, I think you have you do a good job of explaining the temporary of repairs.
Yeah, that's so. There's what Ashley is referencing there is that one of the things the city has aimed to reform about this program is this problem where homeowners need something urgent, need to in a way stop the bleeding so that the condition of their home does not worsen. And so we've been told that the Department of Housing and Community Development now has a program that they're developing whereby a homeowner can get a temporary fix, for perhaps a roof patch, perhaps something that's not permanent, that doesn't entirely remediate their issues, but at the very least addresses their immediate concerns, and means that down the line the repairs that will have to be done are hopefully less time consuming and less costly.
Okay. Well, thank you again, Amy and Ashley, for your excellent reporting. I've enjoyed working with you all both and looking forward to continuing to do so. And now back to Kevin. All
right. Thanks, my brother. Thank you, ladies. We hope you continue to keep that work going and help our people out in the district. We appreciate you. And now joining us is interior designer Mimi Fall. Mimi's no stranger to WIN TV, and we want to welcome you back. And in April, we will be recognizing, or we do recognize, Earth Day and sustainability. So tell us, how can we spruce up for spring with eco-friendly materials?
Hi, Kevin. Thanks so much for having me. So one of the things that we advocate at Thereron Interiors is sustainability. I'm originally from California, so we're probably one of the forerunners in terms of sustainable design and interiors and just the thought process of sustainability. One of the things that you definitely want to consider in your home for the environment and being eco-friendly, number one, is change your light bulbs. Get an LED light bulb. Number one, this is much safer for the environment. At some point, you will throw it away, but it's also very friendly to saving lots of kilowatts from going from a regular light bulb to changing all your light bulbs in your home. The statistics are somewhere around 20% of cost savings for energy. So definitely go and change your light bulbs to LED light bulbs. It's going to make a big difference. Now, on the front end of that, it is a little bit more expensive than a regular light bulb, but it's much more energy efficient for your home or your abode, I should say. So that's number one. Number two, make sure that you are purchasing items that are either a live plant to bring more oxygen to your room, or get some dried products. Dried flowers are good because obviously they're going to be biodegradable. They will go back into the ground after a period of time when they start to break down. So those two things are very important in terms of sustainability. Definitely having the live plants in your home to bring more oxygen in. And then obviously anything biodegradable, such as dried flowers. Another thing that we suggest, number 3, is I'm giving you visual, Kevin. I'm giving you a visual. Is go for things that are made from natural products, such as a real wool rug or sisal or jute. So those are natural fiber products that you want to have in your home. At some point in time, when you've discarded them, they will break down much easier than something made of polyester because it's plastic. Anything made of natural product is going to be better for the environment. At some point, there are even, we call them broadloom carpet or wall-to-wall carpet. Lots of manufacturers now are making things from recycled product so that from the beginning to the end, you put that particular broadloom or wall-to-wall carpet in your home. At some point when you take it up and it goes into a landfill, it will break down much easier than, say, something made of some type of plastic.
So
Should I keep going? Or do you have a question?
Let me ask you a couple of questions.
Sure.
First of all, people who are watching, I'm a visual person. Mimi may not have known this, that she's got on green and black, and she's got green and black behind her, and it kind of looked like you got green and black pom-poms like on the old Mickey Mouse show. So she didn't, yeah. But they're not pom-poms. It's part of the decor. I looked at it and said, wow, who knew? But here's my question. My home keeps a lot of dust, and I did contract COVID before they even told us what it was. In December, before that March. I had bad allergies moving here. They've gotten intense and really worse. And I'm actually going to take like a month in Vegas with a friend just to kind of get my head clear, because I can't sustain dust and the pollen and the swampland in DC. It's just sometimes overwhelming. And I wonder, others beyond moving away, which is what I'm going to do just for health, but continue to work from afar. What can you do? Because that does build up that whatever it is in the house that, you see it on television, they show it on the microscopes or whatever, all that stuff swirling around. I feel it in my head. And I wonder, what else can you do? Because we're spring cleaning.
Yes. Okay. First of all, you're going to want to vacuum every single week consistently. Number 2, try to figure out where the infiltration is coming in. Somehow the pollen and the dust is getting in through your windows, or if you don't have a screen door, maybe through the front door when you open it. So you're going to want to try to seal up those windows as best as possible. Also, change your HVAC filter more often than the manufacturer suggests. So the one that we use, I don't remember the manufacturer's name, but I think it's every 3 months. If you have a lot of allergies and you're prone to get sick from those types of spores coming in through the door or from plants on the outside, you're going to want to change that filter more often. So maybe instead of every 3 months, you go to every month. It's going to be a little bit more expensive, but at least you'll have that system working properly for you, which is a segue into make sure that your HVAC system gets cleaned out at least once a year. That's going to make a huge difference. If you can take up your wall-to-wall carpet, that would be ideal, because there's you have your carpet, which if it's an older home, it's probably going to have some type of poly in it and not very eco-friendly. And then you've got the padding underneath, and that holds a lot of mites and a lot of things, a lot of dust in it. So if you can get back to hardwood floors, because I know a lot of older homes in DC do have hardwood floors, you definitely want to tear that out and get maybe a throw rug or no rugs at all. That's going to help you out tremendously.
Okay. Well, look, we've got to run. We've got one more guest, and but how do people get in touch with you and get these tips? So where should they go so they can get some more assistance, Mimi?
Sure. We'll upload our tips on our website, which is theron.com. It's a little tricky. It's T as in Tom, H as in Harry, E as in egg, R as in Ralph, E as in egg, R as in Ralph, O as in oatmeal, N as in Nancy. it's a little long, but it's pronounced Theron.com.
Good. Well, thank you very much. It's always good to hear from you, and thanks for the tip. Thanks for the personal tips that I needed to. So have a wonderful day. Be
Thank
blessed.
you. You too.
All
nice
right.
To meet you. Bye.
My pleasure. Bye-bye. So our next guest is the one and only native Washingtonian and Howard alum, DC brother Laz Alonso, joining us from his alma mater. How are you?
Thank you so much for having me, Dr. Howard.
Good. So you understand you're going to be as the Grand Marshal?
Tomorrow, I've been invited to be the Grand Marshal of the Cherry Block to wave at all my fellow in the area that I grew up and loved, support all the local businesses and just what made me. I do not believe that I did not have the upbringing that I had here, both academia as well street knowledge, so I met a lot of people here that help Black man that I am, and I've used those skills.
Well, that's great, man. Look, I remember we're having some technical difficulties.
It's a little delayed. I'm noticing a delay going on.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
Can we be someplace else? Let me see here.
So we're going to see if we can work this out, people. So give us just a moment.
We'll
our
be
feed
bringing
is
them
coming
back
from
in.
somewhere else.
Here he is. We'll bring him back in right now. Okay.
All right.
Let's see if the sound is good. Let me hear you talk. Perfect.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
That's perfect.
Okay.
So I was going to ask you, Laz. Well, before I ask you this, weren't you at one of the Miami Film Festivals about 5-8 years ago, presenting?
Yeah, I think I was at the Acapulco, the Miami Film Festival, the Black Film Festival, for the movie that I did for Bobby Brown, the Bobby Brown story. Right. And so we went and presented it and premiered it down there. We had a good time.
I tell people, I know you don't remember this, but I tell people when I said I sat with Laz Alonso by the poolside, and what I remember most and appreciated was we did a one-on-one. As opposed to all the fans came by and people keep stopping and interrupting. He's like, look, I'm talking to this brother, and I was I was editor for the Miami Times then. And we were doing our thing. And it felt like just two brothers engaging. And I say, there are some people who are professional, and there's some people who are professionals but don't know what it means. And you were truly a professional, and it's been wonderful to see your career. I just wanted to tell you that you never know how you impress someone by that first impression. But it was really positive. We're glad you're back. And I just wanted to ask you, how does it feel coming home and being the Grand Marshal of the parade and doing your thing? And hopefully the weather's going to hold up for you tomorrow. What's that like, man?
So I made a promise. I said, if I do get to be Grand Marshal, I'm bringing some of that LA sunshine to DC. And I kept my promise. So that's one promise I've kept. We just need to make sure I didn't use it all up today. We get some tomorrow as well. But for me, it's a homecoming of sorts to be able to come to DC, and I always come for Howard's homecoming. As an alma mater of Howard, I come for that. But this is a homecoming for DC. This is being able to celebrate with my city, celebrate the beginning of spring, which is always a good thing. The beginning, in my opinion, of hopefully a future of good health, getting past the last 2 years, which have been stressful for everyone, and now looking forward to being able to be outside, enjoy fresh air and nature and no masks and whatever that may be. moving forward. But for me, it's a celebration in many ways, and more than anything, it's me being appreciative of DC welcoming me back. Because it ain't just being the grand marshal of the parade, but it's being embraced by your city is nothing better than that.
Sure. So having grown up here in the district, do you remember any other parades from back in the day, the Martin Luther King parade, or there's always something going on in DC. You can never get
absolutely
old. Now, I'm just wondering, have memories like that?
So I do, man. In DC, you have so many different cultures and ethnicities. It's definitely a melting pot of cultures, ethnicities, languages, food. I remember the Latin parade. I don't remember exactly what it was called, but it used to be down on Columbia Road in Mount Pleasant. And my family would participate in march in the parade and dance and play instruments and all that stuff growing up. It was like the Adams Morgan Day Parade. That's what it was called, the Adams Morgan Day Parade. And I think at some point they moved it down to Constitution Avenue or something. But for a long time, it was right in that little corridor. And it was just a great experience, man. They'd have food vendors out there and people would be dancing, in the shops. And it was off the chain.
So we're going to move from parades to something about you specifically. And that's, we have had the pleasure of watching your career and how you have developed as an actor. Tell us, what would you consider one of your most challenging roles?
For me, working for Spike Lee was a role that, in a movie called Miracle at St. Anna, it was a role that it was one of those pinch me, I've made it moments in Hollywood. And I was very, very hard on myself to do a good job because I was working with one of my idols, one of my icons in film, which was Spike. I got to see how he makes movies. I got to see the process of how why his movies sound and feel the way they do. They have a very unique feel to them. When you're watching a Spike movie, it's a Spike Lee movie, and
Sure.
Being able to participate in that, having grown up in that, having been a student at Howard and saying, one day I'm going to be in his movies, and to finally be on set with him side by side was a surreal moment.
Yeah, that's interesting. You talk about that preparation. I sat down with him after he had done it at Chirac. First, and I used to be a beat reporter in Chicago, so I had been on some scenes where they had done the shooting and the killing and the bodies and the blood and the lines, and thinking, wow, this is really crazy. And then he goes and kind of takes me back what I saw as a reporter every day. And it kind of gotten desensitized almost to it because you got to do your job. As an actor, what's your prep work like? I tell people being a person in media is different from working at JCPenney or IBM 9 to 5, because I don't know about you brother Laz, but I don't think I ever sleep. I don't think my mind ever turns off. I try to, but it just won't. And I'm wondering what's your prep work like? How do you do it from day to day?
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head. Is you really don't sleep once you get into that new character. Once you it's actually a series of steps. The first step is finding the character, and that takes some research. You got to research the time period in which this person existed. You have to talk to as many people as possible who might be familiar with either the period, or if he's a military person, what branch he's from, how they talk, how they move, what kind of slang they use, what kind of coded language they use, because everybody in every discipline or every neighborhood has their own language, has their own code. And so you have to find it so that you can ad-lib in that code, in that language. And the more and more you start researching and reading, it's not just reading the script, it's reading everything else from that time period. So you know how they were thinking, what kind of things affected them at that time. When 20 years from now, when they do a movie about the pandemic, people are going to have to watch broadcasts from this era to know what were people who lived through it watching every single day on the news, and how that affected their anxiety and their stress level, how it affected almost every conversation we've had something to do with that. That's the type of things that as an actor you have to find And then once you build and find that character, then it almost starts to live in you. Then you kind of live in that space for whatever amount of time that. When I did Fast and Furious, you know, I was walking around with tattoos and a mohawk, you know, for 4 months, and getting pulled over by the cops, and you know, all kinds of stuff. You know, they introduced me at a party one time. They started saying they had a UFC fighter in the house, and I'm like, oh, who? Because I like, you know, I'm a fight fan, and they thought I was a UFC fighter. So it just let me know that I was living in that space to the point where I embodied. Even when I thought I wasn't acting, I was still moving, and my body language was communicating that energy. So, you know, it's a series of steps, but just like you mentioned, you never truly get out of character until you wrap that film. And then there's a process of getting out of that character, is putting it behind you and letting it go, you know, and refinding yourself.
You know, that's so funny you say that. I remember I had the pleasure of being with August Wilson when I was in Chicago before he died, and they were doing a presentation of all of his shows one weekend, which is hard to believe, the whole series.
Wow.
And one of my good friends is an actor does August Wilson, and he had 2 roles to play. And I remember I said, "How do you learn this?" This is kind of my last question before we go back to the parade. But how do you get all these words? I mean, you got 7 hours of on stage. I don't know if I can remember 7 minutes of on stage. You got 7 hours. You know, you're talking about the role. Does it just become a part of who you are?
You know, I'll tell you, your co-stars are also extremely important. You know, this conversation that you and I are having now is a call and response. I wouldn't know what to say for the next 10 minutes if you did not lead me in a direction that you want this conversation to go. And that's what we do when we do either on stage or in a film. You're listening. You have to listen to the other actor. And a good actor isn't going to give you the same performance or the same delivery twice. So you have to adjust and change based on how they change, and answer their question, answer their improv with them. It's a game. It's a call and response. So what I say is to say, it's not just you, it's the team that you're surrounded by that kind of remind you of what to say next to.
Wow. Okay, great. Well, thanks for that. I'm gonna share that with some people. So it's the team that call and response.
It's the team.
So we want to thank you again for being with us. I know that you have some other people to talk to. One of our photographers is with you today, Anthony Tillman, who helped hook up the feed. So Anthony, shout out to you, and to you, Laz Alonso. If you have any final thoughts about being the Grand Marshal tomorrow, you give us a wave one more time before we move on and let you go, please do so.
It is my honor to be on this interview with you, and it is my honor to be back in DC celebrating such an amazing and beautiful city who has been through so much, and who Black people have contributed so much to the culture of this city, to the music of the city, to the food of this city. You know, when I grew up here, we were called Chocolate City. That was our nickname, you know. It's still not in my heart. So it is an honor to come back and celebrate with DC. And also, everybody that's watching, please tune in to Amazon Prime June 3rd and watch the premiere of The Boys, where I play Mother's Milk. So that's it. That's my shameless plug.
Hey, look, I've got Amazon Prime, and Laz, give Anthony your information for me so I can get out and touch you. We do something before the premiere.
That'd be awesome, man. Thank you so much. I'll definitely do that. Absolutely.
And we'll use some of this video for that. So please do so. God bless you. Safe and have a wonderful time in DC, back home, and at the parade tomorrow.
You as well, brother. Stay safe and stay strong.
I will. All right. Thank you. Well, looks like that's it for this week's broadcast, huh? I made it, Denise. Denise Rollart Barnes will be back next week. Our illustrious leader is down at the White House having a cup of coffee or maybe a mint julep with our new associate justice. I don't even know what I want to say about that, except to say I was just delighted. The right thing was done, even though some folk didn't show up right, but that's okay. We've accomplished the goal. We have a new Supreme Court justice, and we'll be talking more with Denise, and she'll tell us what was going on. We are about the business here at the Washington Informer, so I want to thank our producer, Sherry Lassiter. Check out the parade and other events happening in the DC area. Go to our website, www.washingtoninformer.com. And now it's check out our calendar for all the events. Everyone have a great weekend. And I want to go take baby girl and Duchess out now. My girls, they've been patient during this broadcast. Thank you so much. I'm Kevin McNeil, the editor for the Washington Informer. Have a blessed day.